Hi, everybody. I am Sue Hillyard, and I am here today with Rav Chahal. Hey, Rav.
Hi, Sue.
And we are doing our next episode in our Astro Coffee interviews with your favorite astrologers up close and personal. And today, our favorite astrologer is Alex Trenoweth. Hi, Alex.
Hey, hey,
Welcome.
thank you. Great to be here.
Absolutely. And Alex has been very gracious in allowing us to look at her chart as we talk about her journey with astrology. So, shall we go ahead and dig in? Okay, so why don't we start with how about you tell us about your journey with astrology, how you came to astrology, and how it shows in your chart?
I mean, came into astrology as a skeptic when I was a teenager, young teenager. My mom must have got a Sunday supplement, and she was reading the characteristics of a Cancer. And, she said that Cancers are home-loving and shy. And she, as a Sagittarius, was adventurous and outgoing. And I thought, wow, I guess astrology is a little crap then, because it didn't suit me. I didn't feel like it described me at all. I wasn't home loving. I wasn't shy, and because my birthday is on the cusp of Leo, if anybody asked me, are you what's your sun sign? I would always say on the cusp of Leo. I was always very like didn't want to be a Cancerian at all. And but I was very skeptical of astrology, and it was at university, my final year, that somebody was reading, asked me, are you a Leo? And just to be arsy about it all, I said, no, I'm a Cancer, just to, show that astrology was rubbish. And she says, but I bet you have the moon in Leo. And I had never heard of such a thing. And so, she did this rudimentary chart, and she says, yeah, here, you get the moon in Leo. If I've done my calculations right, you are Gemini rising, and your ruling planet Mercury is also in Leo. And from that point on, I was absolutely hooked on astrology. And I came to England shortly afterwards. I was born in Port Huron, Michigan, and I came to London, England shortly after. I was living in Yorkshire, which is north. I was just listening in on morning TV, and Russell Grant came on, and he was talking about aspects and all sorts of things that I had been studying. And I thought, my God, somebody on this planet speaks the language of astrology, and I knew that I had to find these people. So I took classes with the Faculty of Astrological Studies, and it was just a real revelation. It really did shape my whole entire life about what these planets mean, and that's how I got hooked on astrology.
And so, what do you recall what transits were happening at the time?
It would have been in my Jupiter return, my second Jupiter return. I was 24 when I came over.
Ah,
So between my Jupiter return, my second Jupiter return, and my first Saturn return is when I really got stuck into astrology. But I would say it's my Jupiter return is when I really, it was the foreign travel. It was, taking on new knowledge that I really felt like, I found myself. And my Jupiter, if you look on my chart, is at it's exalted in Cancer, and it's also on its exalted degree. And I knew from my very early days as an astrologer that, if I worked with children and families, that I would find my niche, that I would be happy. And so it is. My specialism in astrology is on children and teaching and families.
and you've written a book about it, right?
I did. I wrote Growing Pains. Now, Growing Pains is based on hardcore research, based on my time in a classroom. I had to go through every single, because Jupiter takes 1 year to go all the way through one sign. So in 12 years, it'll go all the way through all the signs. So actually, on my third Jupiter return was when I brought out Growing Pains. Um, I did the research. I actually came out on my fourth Jupiter return. And, it was just like, I had to experience each Jupiter year, teaching each sign. and making notes and doing that research before I could actually write the book.
Wow. And you're about to have another Jupiter return.
I am. I got my second Saturn return coming up in May, shortly followed by my fifth Jupiter return. I don't want to give too much away about my age, but no, I'm fine with getting older. It's better than the alternative. I'm not being wrong.
Exactly.
Uh, but I am feeling, like I'm blessed that I found my niche when I was young, and I got to work on it, and I got to do the research on it and doing something that I really enjoy. Because when I was at university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I entered in as pre-med. I wanted to be a psychiatrist, and I was at Western Michigan University, which is behaviorism, and I hated it. It was training rats and pigeons. I hated it. It was all to do with stats, which I promised myself I'd never return to. But as I got older, I came back to research, doing stats. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm a musician. I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, which I think shows in my chart with all that Mercury. I just did not know what I wanted to do until I found astrology, and then I did know what I wanted to do. I understood my chart and understood, how I needed to make my way in the world.
Alex, can I just add something? You talk about how your calling was essentially to be a teacher, right?
Mm.
That essentially is just teaching, whether it's teaching yourself, whether it's teaching others, especially kids, like you said. But that whole notion of, your Jupiter return, you mentioned. And just before we started recording, we were just talking about how, um, you know, I'm trained in evolutionary astrology. We look at the nodes of the moon and nodes of the planets. And incidentally, your Jupiter at 16 degrees Cancer is actually conjunct the north node of Pluto. And just to mention to the audience that the nodes of the planets, as like the nodes of the moon, show us a soul's past and potential future. And so the north node of Cancer, Alex, conjunct your Jupiter, is like the soul's direction is there. So the transit of Jupiter for you, your Jupiter return's always going to bring key moments where the transition, awareness, just kind of a knowing. It's like the emotional body will just know what information's been presented, your experiences for that year, that 12-year period of the Jupiter return, where you'll just get different, more insights. I feel. So it's like the teacher was always your calling, but it's sort of like nobody could tell you what to do. There's your Mercury retrograde, right? In Leo. And so if somebody challenged you, you're like, well, no, I'm going to find this out myself. It's like you needed to have some sort of evidence before you could actually,
Yeah.
somebody telling you something. It's like, well, okay, I will go out and get the evidence for this. And the your life experience has presented that. So you've ended up being the researcher to show people actually, yes, it works because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, and to pick up on that, my research for my PhD from India was about looking at do children misbehave more at the new moon or the full moon? And I think most astrologers would say, oh, it's to do with the full moon. But actually, all my evidence is that they misbehave more at the new moon. I think it's to do with the circadian cycle, the cycles of sleep. And also the other thing, it's the new moon at higher latitudes, away from eclipses. So again, two points of counterintuition going on there. But I have the data to back it up. So I can run my big mouth and say, I got 30,000 data entries quite accidentally. I'm the only person on the planet who has all this data, and nobody else has come close to um, being able to say these things. It's just because I was in the right place at the right time. Uh, I was in a teaching environment. I was collecting behavior data, and those are the conclusions I came to.
Right. And in this article, is it available to read? Is this in your book? This information about the new moon and full moon.
Now, I'm thinking where it was in Correlation, which is the Astrological Association's, they have a like a a supplementary magazine, and that came out I think in 2019. I think
Okay.
it's also might be on the academia website where you can read it, but it's out there.
Yes, because it sounds very interesting. Because I'm very intrigued about astrological research and findings, and just just linking stuff, just to make sense of as above, so below, as within, so without, right? So
Yes.
all that notion that comes into play. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think too, it's I find myself that I'm often challenging um like ideas that astrologers take for granted. Mercury retrograde, you're going to miss your
Mhm.
bus, right? Using the same data, there was nothing to do with Mercury retrograde and coming into school late. There was no, the p-values weren't there. No,
Interesting.
yeah, so I don't believe in Mercury retrograde for lots of different reasons. Basically, because I have Mercury retrograde natally at my ruling
Yes.
planet.
You know what? And it's down at the very base of your chart, which is where I have it as well. Only I have it on the other side of the IC. But to me, and you can agree or disagree, I think that it's a really deep base, and especially since it rules your ascendant, it's like your communication is just and in the third house. I mean, it's your Gemini ascendant in the third house, Gemini's house. It's just intrinsic, I guess, to your nature.
Yeah, don't ever ask me how I feel. 'Cause how you're gonna get it.
Well, and I'll bet you there's lots of feelings with all that with all of that Cancer ruled by your Leo moon in the
Yeah,
fourth house.
and one of the lovely things about my background, I'm First Nation. I don't know if you realize this, but I'm Ojibwe. My mom is full blood, and um, my grandparents, my mom's mom and dad, were sent to boarding school, residential schools, where they essentially had the Ojibwe beaten out of them.
Oh,
And so when I got to be a teenager, I got to take some classes to reintegrate some of the knowledge that was lost. So one of the things I love is I love bringing in Ojibwe stories to my London school children, because in that way, those stories are never lost. And I hope that they will remember those stories and tell them to their own children. And so I think that's where the Mercury retrograde on my IC comes in too.
absolutely. Yes, that's beautiful. And your sun and moon are in mutual reception, so
Yes.
they work so well together. I mean, yeah, we've had you in EA Zoom, we've had you do a number of presentations, mostly about your other book, the Mirror Mirror. And I'm always fascinated at your ability to express, what it is that you've written, and do it in a very interesting and lively way.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
Mirror Mirror is, really my I've had a lot of conversations with the Oxford astrologer, Christina Roderbeck, talking about, how the books lie. And I think my Growing Pains book is about my Jupiter, it's about teaching. But my Mirror Mirror book really is about my Gemini rising and my Mercury. And I just I if I've watched over 200 biopics. Biopics are actors portraying real life people. So like Elton John being portrayed by Taron Egerton, or Rami Malek being portraying Freddie Mercury. And I just, in all those films, everything, it just tells the story. And, I really like that I kind of found my way into that. It kind of builds on my need for trivia. On Mercury being as it is, it's just, I got a mind for trivia. You know, you don't
Gathering.
you don't want to, be against me at a pub quiz. I'll wump you, right?
No, in fact, didn't, do I remember that you did? Oh yeah, it was it Kepler that had the trivia contest?
Yeah, and I beat their asses, right?
Yeah, that's right, you did.
You know, it was such a fun game. It's Jason Hawley and a student, Hezekiah Ortez, and I was just faster off the mark because that's just the way it works with me. You know, can't help it.
And that's some stiff competition.
Yeah, yeah, I wumped him.
I love it. I love it.
Wonderful. I have a question just regarding Saturn retrograde in your chart, 29 degrees of Pisces in the 11th house. How's that showing up in your life? Because you know, with 29 degrees, we know as an anaretic point, you know, it's a closing of a cycle of development. And Saturn in Pisces, I look at as very much as being somebody that's connected to mystery. I look at Pisces visions, dreams, illusions, and then Saturn, that structure of consciousness that we're born with. So it's sort of like your dream. It's sort of like you have an ability, just even thinking of Mirror Mirror, the way you were able to look at movies and pick out the characters and both the actual individual in real life and the actor who's portraying it, to be able to link their stories in terms of the charts and to see the patterns in play. You know, the 11th house being naturally ruled by Aquarius and Uranus, just having that ability to just put those dots together. How is, yeah, just Saturn in Pisces played out for you?
Yeah, well, you know, I do a lot of work with dream work. I don't know if you
Okay.
realize this. I
No.
make dream catchers and Ojibwe. The culture is dream catchers. So I do a lot of work with dreams. Um, and I just want to point out Saturn is conjunct my Chiron. Now,
Yes.
with the equal house, it'll be in 10th house. My father was
Okay.
a chronic pain sufferer. And so all my life, you know, I grew up, you know, my dad had a terrible back pain, you know, so I was always picking stuff up, lifting things, you know,
Mhm.
and dealing with my father's chronic pain. Um, so yeah, I think that's how it played out with me. And regarding Pisces, I really am that kind of teacher that I can turn my back on my classroom and it'll be a mess. It'll be absolute chaos. So I had to work a lot on, you know, making sure the structures are there, making sure that, you know, we're cleaning up after ourselves. Everything's off the floor. Our chairs are tucked in. I had to really work on that. Making
Mm.
my bed every day is something that is really something that I really work on because that's where I dream, and I need to make sure that that place is honored. And this is the beauty of Sat. If you understand your Saturn and what it needs, you know, you can work with your Saturn, and so therefore
Mhm.
your Saturn returns don't have to be awful. They can be something that feels like a graduation or feels like something like achievement.
Yeah.
So I don't go for this idea that Saturn returns are miserable or um, the oppositions are horrible. If you understand the nature of your Saturn, you can work with it. Saturn wants to be worked.
Yeah. Self-mastery, right? Leading
Yep.
to
Yeah.
self-mastery of any situation that you're going through. Yeah, I agree with you. This and I call it cookbook astrology. Like you said, Mercury retrograde gets a bad rep. If Saturn gets a bad rep. I have a moon in Capricorn, and Saturn for me in my birth chart has been it's been grounding. It's something I've needed to basically hold me because I have a lot of Pisces in my chart as well. And that's why I was asking you about Saturn in Pisces, because I was like, oh, is there some link here? And yeah, in terms of the dream world, it's fascinating how just so I was saying this to Sue earlier, you have to have the conversation with the individual to see how their energy is played out, to do the astrological detective work,
Yeah.
observation and correlation, to see how these energies are manifesting in an individual's life. But no, that's amazing that you do all that dream work. Um,
That is, and
and
I did see
Yeah.
you posted a beautiful dream catcher that you had made. Um, just
grandson.
Yesterday, yeah, or the day before, and I mean it was gorgeous.
Do you sell them, Alex?
I I mean, I didn't intend to sell them, but I
Okay.
can do, I guess, if if you want me to make you a dream catcher, as long as you pay for the materials and the postage. But um yeah, the dream catcher, yeah, I must, like I said, I made hundreds of them, but this is a
Right.
particularly special one for my grandson. And I did a dream catcher, sorry, a dream workshop for the Brighton Astrology group here in England last year. And I'm teaching people how to make dream catchers because
Oh,
you can, I guess you can buy dream catchers anywhere. They're made in China or the Philippines or whatever, but they are particular to the Ojibways. And the idea is that, when you go to sleep, your spirit wanders and it
Mm.
picks up experiences and it comes back through the web and it leaves the bad dreams in the web. And with the morning dew, it disappears with the when the sun comes up. So, the idea of protection. So this is something I call kind of recaptured from, like, my grandparents lost
Mm.
their culture, but it was recaptured through you know the very fortunate Title 4, it's called, when we learned how to do dream catchers and do beadwork and all sorts of stuff. But I'm actually very good at the fine stuff, the crocheting, knitting stuff. It's the Mercury again, the
yeah,
hands.
Gemini hands.
Yeah. Always wants to be busy, always wants to do something, make something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's similar, I believe, to the Navajo. They also have dream catchers and similar, um, thoughts about, it catching the spirits. And I grew up in the Southwest. I grew up in Arizona, so I was familiar with them. But I mean, I'm telling you that one that you made is just gorgeous. It's complex and just really pretty.
Oh, thank
We'll have to
you.
check it out.
Yeah.
But no, I've always had a dream catcher because I've always believed in just from a young age knowing about how dreams and you travel and negative energies, and so I've always had one. I've got one right opposite. I can see it in my bedroom. But I'll be checking it out, Alex. I can always come and pick it up. You're not too far from me.
Absolutely, yes.
That's right, your neighbors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we just worked out that Rav and I are actually very close to each other. She lives
Yes.
we both live in East London, and
Yes.
East London is such a great historical place.
Mm.
This is where the Salvation Army got started. My
Yes.
other area of research is the Salvation Army because I grew up in the Salvation Army. That's how I learned how to play the trumpet.
Oh, wow.
Ah,
Yeah. So I often talk about, playing the trumpet or the trombone or whatever. But yeah, I grew up in the Salvation Army, and yeah. So William Booth was all over East London back in 1865.
yeah. I'm
Around the
originally
corner.
not from yeah. I'm originally not from London, but I've been here coming up 20 years. But yeah, it's a cool part. It's a cool part to visit if people are visiting London, especially not just central London.
And
Um,
here's a little bit of a connection. My ancestors are from London, or were ministers in England, and
yeah.
oh, and I last time I didn't mention it, but you're the second person. We did Ryan Evans' interview a month or so ago, and he also has the moon at 26 and change of Leo. And Rav has Jupiter in Leo, and I have Venus in Leo. So at the end of
Oh
the
yeah.
conversation, after we recorded, Ryan and we were talking about it, and what did he say? Something about we could take our show on the road or something like that.
We could, yeah. My Jupiter's actually it's 24 degrees of Leo, yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's
Wow.
conjunction your moon, Alex.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I have Venus and Pluto at 18 or Pluto's at 18 and Venus is at 22. So, you know, right in between your Vesta and Moon. So yeah, just like family. I'll come visit you guys.
Yes, please
Yes,
do.
we'll feed you. Yes, we'll feed you.
So let's see, where shall we go? Oh, there's one other thing that I noticed in addition to all of the other Cancer that you have, your Mars is in Cancer, and not only that, but it's out of bounds, just, you know, slightly. And I wonder how do you think of out of bounds? Because I think what it does is just give you a little bit of extra pepper, or, you know, just a little bit of extra spice or whatever. But how do you see it?
Well, I certainly don't like being bossed around. You know, I do things my own way, and you know, I think there's only so much time I have. Yeah, I mean, I do things my own way, and that's just the bottom line. You know, being an astrologer, you know, you think that's weird enough, but I'm even weirder because I do the research, and I'm always challenging astrologers on their so-called theories. You know, so that's how Mars out of bounds manifests for me. I just do what I want to do. And am I sensitive about it? Yeah, of course I am. But that just makes me a little bit more, I don't know, persnickety, I guess.
Yeah, and ruled by that Leo moon again. So you're definitely vocal about it.
I had a question actually. Alex, I saw on your website that you also do tarot and palmistry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say, um, I mean, I'm first and foremost an astrologer, but I find these days, maybe it's to do with that. There's a Mercury transit going on, isn't there? Neptune, the South Node Neptune on my Mercury. I mean, people are asking me more these days about palmistry. You know, I was a damn good astrologer, damn good palmist. And, you know, I mean, you know, the Mercury again, the hands. Um, you know, but I use palmistry all the time. I can't help it. It's kind of like, you know, I can't get away from using astrology with Jupiter and Saturn. I can look at a kid and know where the Jupiter sign is because of their size, right? Jupiter. But the same thing with hands. You know, I can't help it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm looking at hands and thinking, wow, that person would be good at this. You know, there be, you know, there's a fire sign, there'd be, you know, in their hands, they'd be good at this sort of job. You know, it's just I can't help it. And I'm not judging, I'm just, you know, thinking about how can I help them to use that energy in a good way.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love
Well,
that.
Yeah.
that's actually your north node of Neptune on your Mercury. I actually
Oh,
look
North
at
Node, yes, right.
Yeah, but I actually look at everything you've said today, linking to your South Node in Scorpio conjunct that Neptune in Scorpio retrograde in a balsamic phase. I feel from your chart, just having a quick glance at it yesterday when I had a chance, that you've been born with these gifts, that you've utilized these in previous lifetimes. So it's just a remembering, and you have the skills to do this. And it's fascinating because I say dabble with tarot. My twin sister is a very good palmist. We'll have to catch up, Alex. We'll have to do lunch one day and share these skills. But there
Absolutely.
is something in palmistry. There is definitely something in palmistry that's very, it's like my twin sister, she's been very, very, like, very good with people and stuff. And she told me a couple of things many years ago which transpired, let's say. And yeah, and sometimes she does say to me that she'll have somebody's hand in her hand and looking at the lines, and sometimes she'll see something and she'll say, and she's like, I don't know where that's come from. But it's intuition as well. It's you're working with energies that are very natural to connection between people. And yeah, and just being in tune with the psychic awareness that one has. And your psychic awareness antenna, I feel, is very high.
And just to add to that, I mean, I don't think I have a psychic awareness with astrology. I'm just reading the chart. But with the
Mm,
palmistry and with the tarot cards, I definitely feel that, I am working with that psychic energy. That's a different sort of thing altogether, especially with tarot. You know, you can read, you can get the basic idea of what the cards mean, but there's something else in there. But now that I'm saying that, there's also that awareness with astrology too. We are the intermediary.
Yes.
We are translating the heavens to talk to a human, and our job is kind of like the Hippocratic Oath. Do no harm. We are helping to guide people through, and there is there yeah there is that wonderful feeling of that we can help, and that we don't do no harm. And I love the idea that we're trying to talk about ethics in astrology, because my whole entire thing about working with children's charts is about ethics and making sure that we're not projecting onto our children, that we are helping our children to prepare for their futures, that we're not laying guilt from the parents or anything else, or the church or whatever, onto our children, that we're actually helping them to find a way into the world. So
it's a heavy responsibility, and I applaud you for acknowledging what it what a huge responsibility it is, and writing about it. I have had quite serious arguments with astrologers about reading children's charts, and I always say you need to have mom and dad or the parents with you when you read a child's chart. You should never ever do a one-to-one consultation with a child, because you don't have the child the training to deal with children's charts. You don't have that training, and I think it's really important that astrologers understand this, that you should never ever read a child's chart one-to-one. You got to have the parents with you. And astrologers have argued with me, what about disclosure? You don't want a child to disclose to you. What are you going to do? You got a child who's self-harming, a child who's pregnant. What are you going to do? What are you really going to do? You can't do anything because you're not trained. And so it's really important that we look at, I know the educational system is very flawed, but yet there's our resources. And a teacher will know what to do with a child, an underage girl who's pregnant. They'll know what to do in the case of self-harming. They'll know how to refer it and how to help that child, whereas the average astrologer won't know what to do. So it's important. Good point. And luckily you have both skills.
Well, even I'm not going to have a child one-to-one.
No,
I'm not going to do it.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Totally.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
No, good. We need to get this message out, because there's so much rubbish out there. People are doing children's charts, and it shouldn't be done. We need to.
I've seen some astrologers websites saying children's charts and their prices, and I'm just like, a child is, for me, still developing, unless the parents are like, there's something we'd like you to look at because I'm having this issue. That's a different story. But if someone is just saying, oh, work with this child on their own, that's just beyond. No.
Not even police will do that. Not even police.
No, exactly.
Or a child psychologist will, they might see a child one-to-one, but they're very highly trained. We're talking about, way above the average astrologer, way above. And even astrologers that don't have child protection training, or we call it the Criminal Records Bureau. You have to be cleared from.
Yes.
They don't even have that. When you work with children in the UK, Sue, there's a clearance you have to go through. I've completely forgot what the name is. 70 quid to get through it.
Yes.
CRB. It's like You have to prove that you're not a criminal.
Yeah, same in the US. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a good thing.
Well, yeah, but even with that, I mean, I still think there's like holes in the system.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
you know, the average astrologer doesn't have that clearance, and yeah, you need to be careful of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not just about, you know, it's just to do with protecting yourself too. You know,
Yes.
because, you know, a child can easily turn around and say, accuse you of something,
Mhm.
even online, can turn around and say, you know, you've said something or did something or, you know, whatever, and you don't have a leg to stand on.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's see, where shall we go from here? Shall we talk about a couple of asteroids, or shall we look at progressions, or how about a little bit of both?
Let's go for
Should we have a look at?
progressions. You'll love my
Yeah.
progressions because I got my progressed sun on
Oh,
my Uranus Pluto.
okay,
Oh, wow.
let's go for that. So
Yes, that's
let me get rid of these. Okay, so I what I did was I put your progressions in a separate chart, and okay, so one let me start with one little thing that I noticed, because the one thing I know about you being a Leo is that you love cats.
Oh, I adore cats. Oh my God. I'm
I
everywhere I go. Got to take pictures of cats. Oh, I love them.
I and so there's an asteroid called Kitty, and Kitty in your chart, well, okay, so in your natal chart, it's at 0 degrees Cancer. And by progression, Kitty is now conjunct your ascendant. And you know, the posts that I've seen you, I mean, like you said, I mean, everywhere you go, you find a cat finds you. It's like it's amazing. And then you've got a neighbor cat that comes and visits you, who's just cute as a bug.
Little princess.
Princess, yeah, yeah, yeah. And you did say that you were thinking it was about time to get a kitty again.
But you know, I got so many adopted cats from my neighborhood, you
Well,
know.
so you've got more. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get your own. You're surrounded.
I
Okay.
know I get dumb over cats. I just love them. And
Well, and your face just lights up. I mean, the pictures that you've posted on Facebook are just so precious. With, I mean, just the glee, you know, just the delight that you have about, you know, another cat.
do. I actually think another cat's walking into her life, whether she likes it or not.
oh, you know, oh yeah. Oh, I'm you know, when my cats died, I had two brothers. I had Bubbles and Mr. Perseus, and you know, when they died, oh, I put so
It's
much love into them, you know, and when they died, I actually Bubbles died. The, I was rewatching Lawrence of Arabia for my book Mirror Mirror, and I just thought I cannot, you know, I dedicated the book to Mr. Bubbles, but I just thought I cannot take on another cat. But I just like I'm a cat girl. They just find me
I
wherever I go, Greece, Turkey, wherever, Cape Town, wherever I go, cats follow me, and I just love them. And yeah.
and I hear you about uh, the emotional investment, and how it's so hard. I'm actually writing a book about I had at one point a baker's dozen cats, And I have lost them one by one, of course, because they don't live as long as we do.
Mm.
And it has been, the experience has been just incredible. And, you know, so I decided that I need to share it, because it's been my process of dealing with the grief of it, you know, and what ended up happening was I started creating art, memorializing my dead animals. And so I have this body of art that depicts, you know, each one of the, you know, just kind of the essence of each animal. And so now I'm writing the stories about them. But I totally hear you about, you know, the emotional investment that it is, and how hard it is to think about doing it again. Yeah.
Yeah, I want another cat. Oh, you know, I love Maine Coon cats.
Oh yeah.
I
They
like the big cats. I love lions. I want to, you know, I want to see a cheetah in life. You know, you know, we can go to London Zoo here and we can see the big cats, but
there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you know, it's the whole entire thing with them walking on you. You know, that little thing they do when they walk on you, and
Yes.
the purring in your ear, and you hold them. Oh, the
Yes,
whole
and the purring when you're holding them up next to you, it's like I had a chiropractor friend who had what he called a chi machine, and I swear it felt like a cat purring, and it was soothing. But I mean, that feeling of a cat purring is just unmatched,
They
unmatched.
say that the frequency, the sound frequency of a cat is perfect for humans. I'm not sure how that works, but it's supposed to be like very therapeutic.
It
Don't you?
is. It
Don't
is for
you?
me.
Yeah, you just want make me want to get
Yeah.
a cat. I'm gonna go outside and pick up my cat.
Well,
Well, and
Sue, saying that, I mentioned this story before. I've grown up with dogs, so I was a little bit afraid of cats because my mother didn't like cats, so kind of projected that onto us. And one of my good friends many years ago had two cats, and I was looking after them for a couple of days because she was away, so I had to just going over to her flat to feed them and stuff. And I was going through a bit of a heartbreak at that time, and I remember sitting down on the sofa just for 2 minutes, and one of them came up to me, sat on my legs, and then nuzzled up here and just snuggled in and started purring. And I just remember stroking her. They were both females, both stroking her, and I swear I remember thinking, she knows I'm upset, she knows I'm hurt, and she's kind of telling me it's okay. She jumps off, and then the other one comes up. I'm like,
oh,
and I remember just thinking, and at that moment, I kind of switched, thinking, do you know what? This is really healing. And you just said that it was such a healing moment, and it's such a vivid memory of these two little cats. But yeah, since then I've not been scared of cats,
oh,
but I don't have
sweet.
any. But I remember that story is so vivid. It's kind of just cancelled out the whole previous cats are, dangerous and etc. But I just remember that moment, how you said just healing and soothing. And it's like they just knew I was in a low place and they were kind of trying to lift me.
I like dogs, but
Mm.
what I don't like is that they bark. 'Cause you always jump out of your skin when they bark. Whereas when a cat meows, you know, you're kind of like, yeah, yeah, bitch. You know,
It's not so bad. Yeah. Yeah.
they're okay. But and of course, dog feces are very dangerous to us, whereas cats take care of themselves a bit more.
Mm.
You know, so yeah, I'm definitely a cat person. I
Mm.
had dogs in my childhood, but I definitely prefer cats.
Yeah.
And I had a Vedic astrologer, my friend Asan Kazini, telling me that there was some degree, I think in my moon, something to do with cats. But maybe you pointed out that it's I'm a cat person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's in Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for one thing, but yeah.
Yes.
It's a nakshatra. I can't remember what he said, but he just
Oh,
said, yeah, of course you are a cat person.
oh, interesting.
Maga is my moon, because I'm a double queen in the Vedic system.
Ah, of course you are.
Of course I am.
I
I'm not
love
that
it.
familiar with Vedic.
I'm Rohini rising, which is the favorite wife of the moon god, and then
Okay.
I'm Maga, who is the queen. So I'm a double queen in Vedic astrology.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But he said something about, I think it's something to do with my moon or my Mercury to do with cats. And yeah, it's just the way it is. I'm truly a cat person.
I love it. Okay, so so I don't know if we need to talk about the transits today. Mm,
Wow, the transits. Let's look.
uh, almost a new moon. We're
In a
having
couple of hours.
new moon today. Conjunct Lilith.
Oh, isn't opposite my Mars?
Yes,
Mars.
it
Mars,
is.
yeah.
Yes, it is actually.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
And let's see what else. Oh, and Eros is up here very close. So I think it's a
oh, I'm Eros. I'm recently in love.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
And so Eros, and I did notice, okay, so let's just move on to the combination of your natal and progressed and transits,
This is
because
better for me. I need to see everything together.
yeah,
I was like,
same. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that.
well, I
Okay.
did say I'd see everything together, Sue. So your computer just put us together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I did. I clicked, wanted to click on the annotate instead, and instead I stopped the share. So let's see. So Eros is, I noticed, is conjunct your Uranus and
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 Pluto.
Pluto. So
Of course
natally,
it is.
of course it is. And then progressed, it's in Scorpio.
Progressed.
So it's and then
In
right
transit.
right now here it is in a very nice sextile to your progressed Eros. So you
All I
want
heard was sex.
speak a little about the recently in love, or
Yeah, I'm just, I'm 58 years old and I just thought, die alone kind of thing. But yeah, no, it's all new and very wonderful and um full of possibilities.
yeah, very
So
sweet.
Nice.
yeah, I think so too. And I love that everyone's rooting for us and happy for us. That's great.
Yeah. Well, and then let's see, the other thing I noticed about that. So, okay, so all of your Cancer, we've got this Mars retrograde going on
Mm.
in Leo, which you're so okay. How do I phrase this? Okay, so your natal Mars is here in early Cancer, your progressed Mars is here in mid Leo. So the Mars retrograde, the Mars came up and turned retrograde before it got to your progressed Mars. And then now it's going to go, retrograde back here and doesn't quite get to your natal Mars, but it does, or your natal Jupiter, but it goes over your Sun, your progressed Jupiter, Oh, Kitty, progressed Kitty.
So I think it goes to 16 Cancer. I think it goes to
It's 17,
it's
exactly 17, 17 and 0.
17.
Yeah.
Just buy a hat, you guys.
Yeah, just by a flicker.
Just buy a hat. That's all.
So there's a
And
lot going on between the second and third houses, right? In terms of that Mars transit at the moment.
Well, I'm always trying to write a book. I just had a new job teaching, looking at maybe moving and, back and forth stuff going on. So that makes sense. Second being about finances, third being about learning or, looking at your local neighborhood. So that
gathering
definitely
facts
gathering gathering facts, but
or
so
information.
yeah, information, but we need to look at the third house is about, kind of the superficial information,
Mm.
the meeting new friends, neighborhoods colliding or uniting, and that's definitely been a feature over these past few months. And yeah, and what is Jupiter doing? Let's look at Jupiter. We got Jupiter at 16 on my natal.
Transit. Your natal 16, your progressed is 28 Cancer, and the transiting is going through your first house at the minute.
Yeah,
the book writing,
And great. Yeah.
possibly moving and stuff like that. So that certainly fits in.
So
Well, the new moon's going through your ninth house. Will be just literally gone into your ninth house. Am I correct? I got the right degree.
Yes, I think you're.
yes,
Yep,
yes.
right. Yep.
No, sorry, eighth.
No, eighth.
Because
Be the
eighth, because your ninth house is 19 degrees
19,
Cancer.
yes,
So
right in here.
eighth house.
So,
That commitment.
Okay.
is there anything that you'd like to tell us about the book that you're working on?
Well, I'm always working on something. As it happens, I've been sort of resurrecting some old work, the eighth house. But also, I want to get that Saturn book out, which is what I'm referring to. But I also got my Jupiter book I want to finish, and just some articles I've been working on that I want to bring out. Yeah, I've been doing. I did an article on Harry Potter, or if you want to hear it in the British accent, Harry Potter. That was on Astro.com.
Okay.
But I've been working on that, and research I've been working on. So there's lots of stuff I can think of with the eighth house, looking at resources and I was very ill in April.
Oh.
I had I don't know, some sort of COVID thing that I was coughing for like 3 months.
Oof.
It was horrible. And I was coughing so much I was getting sick and I wasn't eating a lot and it was really, really horrible. And the only thing that soothed me was drinking a bit of whiskey and honey. So finally I got so sick I said, guys, this is ridiculous. I'm really, they said you're really drunk too because of the whiskey, right? But I'm like, but I don't drink a lot. It's just I got this horrible feeling in my throat, and so I had to go through this whole entire process of just trying to get my house back up to what it should be. So I had to go through that too, which might be a Neptune thing.
Yes, and or Jupiter going through your 12th house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, being native, I come from a long line of alcoholics. I can be very careful about, about drinking and stuff like that. Not that I worry about it, but it's just that something I need to be aware of.
Sure.
And that's there too. So,
well, and Neptune is up here, transiting up here, approaching probably, traveling between your Chiron and Saturn, in this little area right in here.
Like your physical body.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I worry about my teeth. Is what I worry about because I've always had problems I had braces on my teenage years, and just had a lot of problems fitting all these big teeth in this small mouth, believe it
Ah,
or not. Believe it or not. But I had that problem too. But fortunately, I've never had a cavity in my life. But
oh,
I
lucky
was
you.
yeah, I
Yeah.
never. But I've had extractions though. Um,
Oh dear, yeah.
because like I say, my mouth just isn't big enough.
Ah.
I know, I know, I
Hmm.
know, I know, I know. It isn't like yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, let's see.
Interesting.
What else? Is there anything else, Rob, that you would like to
Nothing's jumping out. It's just everything Alex has explained. She's shown us in the chart, especially what's happening at the moment. Yeah. Da, 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 da.
and I do have one question. I mean, it probably has been, it may have been a little bit behind the scenes, but I think it may kind of have to do with what's been going on with you. But the Saturn Jupiter square and the mutable T square with Mercury playing into it. We've got Mercury over here, and it's been this back and forth with Jupiter going over your ascendant. Mercury did the retrograde in your seventh house, and Saturn up here in your 10th house, right? And approaching the conjunction here with eventually with Neptune and the North Node, which will occur around your Saturn,
Yeah.
eventually. I'm just wondering how you've seen this mutable. What I don't know if you remember Zip Dobbins wrote an article about the mutable dilemma, and I mean that it plays out in my chart. It's just too many options is how it plays out in my chart. It's just not enough time to do everything that I want to do. And I just wonder if that has played out in your chart or in your life.
Well, I mean, I suppose so. I mean, I kind of had a little temper tantrum when I was ill. I just felt like everybody was like putting too much pressure on me. And I was telling everybody, listen, back off. Please, just leave me alone.
Ah, yeah,
So I guess that did kind of and being, sensitive Cancerian, I just it took a lot of strength for me to say, leave me alone. Don't put this pressure on me. I just really, yeah, I'll
Mm.
park it there. Just sort of say that, that was how I was feeling, that
yeah,
everyone was trying to take a piece of me, and I had to be really grouchy about it. Just say, not feeling it, guys. Go away.
yeah, yeah. And I have a Cancer rising, so I hear you, sister. I feel you, sister. You just have to, and as much Cancer as you have, you want to give and give and give until all of a sudden you realize that you're just torn and maybe in too many directions. And
Depleted.
Yeah, well, you feel like, um, you want to withdraw into the shell,
yeah,
and I really had to go through that, and I really had to bite people's heads off, the Cancer, clippers, just leave me alone, you
yeah,
guys. And even though I knew I was being grouchy and stuff like that, I just kind of felt like when I speak at conferences, I people will see the Leo, Moon and Leo, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, she's on stage. She's always on stage." No, no, no. When I do my lectures, I need to go away. I need to withdraw, and I need to eat, and I need to sleep, and I need to just be away from people. Yeah, yeah. That's just the way I am.
Yeah.
And I think acknowledging it, it's the Leo stuff too. My Cancer sun is always embarrassed by what my Moon and Leo puts us up to, but my Gemini rising keeps us all talking. But that is the way I roll. I need to have that quiet space. I can't be on stage all the time. This is actually the first Zoom conference I've done for quite a while.
Yeah.
Because I was totally burned out, and couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I dislike so many things about Zooms. The
Yeah.
time zone is not right. It was hard for me. It's hard for Cancerian to be on stage all the time.
Yes.
And
I imagine, yeah. And in addition to that, you've had the Pluto transit opposite your sun.
yeah, and I lost my dad
That's
during
right.
that
Yeah.
time. And that was awful because it was during the pandemic. I couldn't go to his funeral. I
Oh,
did get to say, goodbye to him via FaceTime, but that's nothing
that's
like,
not the same.
no.
No.
And my mother going to pieces, my sister having her problems. I have a severely autistic nephew. It was hard for all of us to go through that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess people get on with these things, but when you put it in a personal way, it's tough. When you're Cancerian and your family means the world to you, it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your giving
Agreeing to
us
do
your
this.
time
Yeah.
today.
No,
And
it was
we've got
great.
we've got a couple more questions to
Let's go.
Before we close.
yeah, to wrap up. Rav, you want to do yours?
Yes, so I have a love of books, and I'm always finding out from people what books they recommend. So I wanted to ask, apart from astrology books, has there been any key titles or books in your life that's inspired you that you would recommend the audience that they should read?
Oh my God. What a great question. So when I was growing up, my father was a truck driver, a lorry driver. So, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And he took me aside. I actually moved to 5 different schools from the age of like a 10 to 14. And when I got to high school, Dad said, because I always wanted to be a teacher, and my dad sat me down and says, I can't afford to put you through university. So whatever you're going to do, make sure that your education is, you do whatever you can. So I made it my point to read every single classical book in the library. So I read everything, all those classical books, from Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Dickens. And in fact, I blame Charles Dickens. I live in London because I loved him. And the book I would recommend the most is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley
Oh,
or
Okay.
Percy Bysshe Shelley. I would highly recommend that. Um, I Anna Karenina, read that book too. That's a good take on Prayer for Owen Meany by um, John Irving. I Pet Cemetery by Stephen King.
wow.
Get bounce around,
Yeah.
and read, books from different cultures. Obviously, you're going to read Odysseus and all these sort of things in school. Macbeth, if you're an American, please read Macbeth. Uh, you know, um, yeah, just read as much as you can. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing to. I remember being very resistant as a kid about reading. Being Ojibwe, my cousins were always like, we don't read. You
Ah,
know, our
huh.
culture, we don't, our language is not written down, so don't read. We're
Mm.
storytellers. And I was resistant. But once I learned how to read, you know, Charlotte's Web,
Uh,
um,
Mm.
A Cricket in Times Square, I love those books, and I would reread them over and over again. Gone with the Wind,
Mm.
just to get the bit of antebellum.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just read everything, and I read all those books, and I felt that I eventually got a scholarship to Western Michigan University, and I just felt like I gave my best education in high school by reading.
Yeah. Sounds like you were well prepared by the
It
time.
was,
Yes.
and it's free, all those books are free. They're in the bookshelves.
Yeah. Yeah. Libraries.
Yep.
Very true.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great advice from a Gemini rising. And by the way, my moon is right on your ascendant.
Oh, fantastic. Were you a fan of Julia Child by any chance?
My mother was. My mother used to do quite a an impression of her.
Today. Yeah.
And my sister too. My sister, both of them were really really good. Yes, she, she
She's
was.
got Gemini, 6 degrees Gemini
Oh,
rising.
she does. Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting. I love it. Okay, so my final question is, and this has been a tough question for just about everybody that we've interviewed, especially those with Gemini. What do you do in your spare time?
Well, I play the trumpet.
Oh, okay.
I'm quite I don't know what you would say. I guess, that's what it's my other occupation is I'm a semi-professional trumpet player. I read, I
Wow.
play games. I love games. Oh my God, my phone. I love games. Merge Dragons,
Oh,
Candy Crush, you know, I would love to be able to paint more than what I do. I would love to be able to do cooking. What I don't like is I hate shopping. I hate being, in the crowds and carrying all that stuff home. I
same,
don't drive.
same.
I don't drive. I walk everywhere. So
Oh, wow.
whatever I buy, I gotta carry home.
Ah,
Um, what do I do in my spare time? Yeah, play games, play the trumpet, do a bit of astrology, do some writing, read. That's what I do. It's not a difficult question for me at all.
well, that's funny because the reaction that we've gotten from most people is, what's spare time?
What's spare time? Yeah.
Well, I just think we always have spare time. Wow, why, what? You
Isn't
don't
that
have spare
interesting?
time.
I love it.
You know, really, your day's that packed that you don't have spare time. I think that's really disingenuous, really.
Yeah, it says
There's
something about where we've gotten.
wow. I think there's always spare time. Um, wow, gosh.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Uh, oh, Alex, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Th-
Thank
This
you.
is this has
Thank
been
you.
just so much fun. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to maybe when you have some time and energy that you'll do another EA Zoom meeting with us. I almost asked you at the last Academy Awards season, and I was just too busy, and so it just kind of fell by the wayside. But maybe next year we can get you to do another mirror
I would
mirror.
love to. I would love to do on the Mirror Mirror. I always got stuff going on with Mirror Mirror. I mean, new biopics coming out. Amy Winehouse just came out. Whitney Houston just came
Wow.
out. It got all these stuff going on,
Yeah.
and it's
So are
the
you going to do a
astrology
part
magazine.
2 or volume 2 of Mirror Mirror?
Well, my publisher got kind of worn out with the first version, but I would love to do. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a fascinating book. I'm reading the chapters in terms of the movies I like. Schindler's List, for example, and I love Liam
Oh,
Neeson.
and look to where Pluto is in your chart and how it connects to those. Look. Where
Mine does to I think it does to Liam Neeson. I think him as an actor, he's one of my all-time favorites.
oh
Let me check.
Yeah,
The biggest dick in Hollywood, right?
Oh, really?
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Well, you have all kinds of
I did not know that.
inside information, don't you?
But maybe I could interview you guys too about your favorite actor, actress. Because I want to do my own podcast about this topic. So maybe I could do you guys too.
That would be
For
lovely.
sure.
That would be
Yes,
lovely.
I would love that. But yeah, thank you, Alex. It has been so
Okay.
much fun and nice to meet somebody on my neck of the woods, literally just up the road from me. So yeah, thank you, Sue, for connecting us.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Sue. Thank you.
Thank you.